I want to talk about the Tasmanian tiger, known as the Thylacine. It was inhabited by a couple of countries, actually. Papua New Guinea, a lot of people don't realise.
I read that, thought it was up there.
And mainland Australia, but really has been extinct to mainland Tasmania. The last Tasmanian tiger was killed by a guy called Warren Batty. I'm not sure if the Batty Hotel was named after him. But in 1930, the Thylacine, known from this point during the show as the Tasmanian tiger.
Did you just say Thylacine?
Thylacine.
He's from Yorkshire.
Was
I can tell by his skin.
the last
Thylacine
Thylacine was named Benjamin, and Benjamin was committed to the Hobart Zoo.
What year was this? Do you know?
In 1933, and in 1936 Benjamin died.
How do they know his name was Benjamin?
They named him
They
Benjamin.
gave him the name.
Oh, right.
Benjamin died in 1936 and was the last Tasmanian tiger.
Shit name for a Thylacine.
I'm pretty sure Benjamin had no say in his name. But Benjamin
Killer
died.
would have been a good
Benjamin
Survivor.
was the last known
the
Tasmanian
Thylacine.
tiger. In 1936, Benjamin died of what is reportedly known as neglect. They did keep Benjamin outdoors and didn't allow Benjamin to go indoors at all.
They weren't an inside pet though, were they?
That's
No.
right.
But is this the same Tasmanian tiger that you see on all of the videos when you type into YouTube or Google search?
That's right.
They're
Last
playing
time
at the Launceston Museum. They got the footage there.
Yeah, you see it running around in the pen.
I do
Which
believe
is the
that
most
was.
common thing. Is
Yeah.
that Benjamin?
I do believe that was Benjamin.
Right.
Benjamin
Benny,
was
I
the
like to
last
call him.
known tiger.
The bee dog.
Prominently known in northwest Tasmania, Benjamin is Benjamin's relatives are commonly recited at different times of the year. Benjamin and his ancestors were basically two things made the Tasmanian tiger extinct to this day. The Tasmanian tiger was extinct for farming purposes, basically. At that time, Tasmanian tigers were basically labelled for anything that went wrong to farmers in the area.
Like
of
sheep,
Northwest.
cattle,
Sheep.
livestock, anything.
Me chooks are missing. It's a tiger.
This tiger got in.
It could have been a wild dog.
Fucking drought. Bloody
Yeah, like, oh,
tigers.
drought, my baby's gone missing.
Seriously?
Fucking
Yeah,
tigers.
yeah.
Like the black man, Tasmanian tigers got the rap for everything. So Tasmanian tigers were like.
So they were guilty.
Good on you. Chris Franklin now works for the LAPD. The Tasmanian tiger is commonly only related to, from scientific analysts, is related to the Tasmanian tiger. Tasmanian devil. Sorry.
You can tell they're related. They both got Tasmanian in their name.
The Tasmanian. There was a story of a guy who I've heard just recently that he was showing someone what the Tasmanian tiger footprints look like.
Yeah.
And he walked around the outback or the rural area of Tasmania, showing everyone what the footprints look like. Went home, obviously went to bed as normal. Woke up in the morning to find out 1 or 2 days later there was an article in the newspaper that a Tasmanian tiger has been found.
Tasmanian taco, really?
Tiger.
Yeah, taco.
Tasmanian
Yeah,
taco.
there's a lot of
Tasmanian tacos.
You can get them in
Tasmanian
food
tiger.
vans. You can
Due
get
to
them in food
his
vans.
footprints. So
From a Tasmanian taco.
I believe the Tasmanian tiger is still alive. I think, but look, we'll bring more up about the Tasmanian tigers at a later stage. You guys tell us a bit more about what you found out.
Right, so the story of Tasmania starts in the 1600s. There is a massive land just underneath what is soon to be known as Tasmania. It is strongly believed that it hasn't yet closed over to an island
A
yet.
bit of land under Tasmania.
Under Australia.
Right. Yeah, good call.
Indigenous people were dated as back to being 35,000 years old at the very least. Very quickly changed around 1642 when the first European sighting of Tasmania came along. Sir Abel Tasman of Dutch East India Trading Company.
What a coincidence that his surname is the same name as the place he found. That'd be like me discovering Bougainville.
Absolutely. But then he first discovered the eastern coastline of Tasmania, and from there he declared what he had found, because he didn't actually go up to it. This is the interesting thing. He never departed his ship, but he was standing on the ship, presumably stoned off his fucking bonds, like had a joint in his mouth at the time, and you know, wearing clogs and eating a waffle, like full stereotype, right? Standing on his ship, just looking at the coastline, he was like, well, the guy who gave me all the money to do this trip was a guy called Anthony Van Diemen. So what I'm looking at now should be named after him, and so it became Anthony Van Diemen's Land, with a T on the end. This was later shortened just to Van Diemen's Land by the British. It's to 1777, when a much well-known figure, Captain James Cook of the British Navy, came along. He stood on his boat, looked at it and went, yep, and then sailed off. He did not bother to make land whatsoever. He saw Tasmania all along the east, west and northern coasts and then sailed off. Then sailed off to Hawaii, then got himself thrown into a pot and boiled.
Yeah, and eaten.
So 1793, we have the arrival of Brunei D'Entrecasteaux. Now Brunei is the first name and the namesake of Brunei Island.
Can we for a moment just, I do apologise, but James, who a lot of you don't realise is the barman tonight. I'd like to give a shout out to him. Do you think it should be Brunei or Brunei? Brunei or Brunei?
Always known as Brunei.
Brunei?
Brunei D'Entrecasteaux sails up what is now the River Derwent. First person to do so in a ship. He names it Riviere du Nord.
So it's a river of Nord.
I know Nord from Skyrim, that's about it. Then, the same year, a sailor named Lieutenant John Hayes of the United Kingdom Navy, he comes sailing up Riviere du Nord.
Yeah.
Unaware that the French had come up only a few months beforehand, and he named it the Derwent.
Right.
And that is what stuck. Then, we fast forward to 1803. Lieutenant John Bowen of the UK Navy, he sets up shore on the eastern bank of the Derwent River.
Right.
And calls it Risdon Vale. We skip forward 1 year. Captain David Collins, not the one from the Umbilical Brothers, sets up shop on the western bank. Now remember, John Bowen had set up on the eastern shore and named it Risdon Cove and Risdon Vale.
Yeah.
David Collins came up, spent a little bit of time on the eastern shore, but then went over to the western shore of the Derwent River and found what was a much cleaner water source and set up a settlement there. And David Collins dubbed this settlement Hobart Town. So that is how Hobart Town first got started. From there, convict colonies set up. Aboriginal settlements revolted very fucking highly against this. The whole settlement around Hobart Vale, Risdon, they absolutely did not want it at all. They pushed back heavily against rangers going into their lands in the scrub, you know, settlements and settlers going out to find supplies and things like that in the scrubland.
Intrigued.
I have spilled Jim Beam all over my fucking crotch. Can we get this just for posterity?
Anyway, enough politics. Get back to the politics.
Okay, so at the same time this was happening, 1804, there was a sailor, soldier, and botanist.
Gilligan.
No.
No.
William Pattinson.
Oh,
For the first time in historical records, found what is now known as the Tamar entrance and river.
there's a statue of him in City Park.
100%.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. We'll insert that.
He's the guy that looks like he's checking his text messages.
In the top left-hand corner.
Yeah, yeah.
I've seen that
William
statue.
Patterson,
I didn't know who it was.
Bald fucker. Yeah. So I know my history.
More Tasmanian than anything. And I was born in Bangladesh.
So William Patterson came through the Tamar River and started setting up what was Port Dalrymple, which is now known as Georgetown.
Oh, aren't they feral fucks out there?
But that was the
Hi Georgetown, but you're fucking weird.
But on the same vibe as that, in 1807, a five-man party led by Thomas Laycock travelled from Launceston Town to Hobart Town. It took them 9 days, which was the first voyage from one end of Tasmania straight to the other.
Just like catching a red line bus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then, over the next 20 years, Van Diemen's Land grew, more colonies, particularly convict colonies. There was the military personnel, other settlers like that who were contributing to the ecosystem. Churches, roads, hospitals, mills, agriculture.
We had churches in Launceston though, didn't
So many fucking churches, oh my god. Postal systems, horse racing, and shit tons of bush rangers with
we?
what they
We
had.
had a lot of bush down here from the range in.
100%, so much bush. And then in 1856, Van Diemen's Land was renamed Tasmania by
Why?
the government and popular opinion
Why?
to lose the stigma of Van Diemen / demon, as in devil land, put
What's the
upon
bloke's
by convicts as evil men, as that this was the place where evil people were sent to work and to pay as retribution for their crimes, but also to
And where's
honour
Devil's Hill?
Abel Tasman.
Abel Tasman. Oh, that's why.
They changed
yeah,
it to lose
yeah.
the stigma from the convicts as a convict
So it's
settlement.
still a Dutch name.
Yeah, and to honour
Yeah.
and enable Abel Tasman as the first
Yeah.
observer, fuck that, of the land. Then, and finally, 162 years later,
Because nothing happened in that time in between.
not really, but that would lead to three guys sitting in a bar in Prospect talking about everything that we've just talked about.
Let's raise a toast to Benny.
Benny, Abel Tasman,
Jimmy Cook.
Jimmy Cook, Benny, the Tassie Tiger. Last
Jimmy
one.
Cook, Mark Joseph Marion. Shall we continue?
Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Franklin.
I want to talk about a distant relative of mine, Johnny Franklin.
Johnny Franklin.
And his wife Jane came down here and they sorted shit out. They thought things were a bit harsh for the convicts, they made things a bit better. A lot of shit was named after Johnny Franklin here in Tasmania, like the Franklin River,
Yeah.
the suburb of Franklin in Hobart.
The Bottled Water Company.
Yeah.
I was gonna say-
Mount Franklin. One of the biggest mysteries in Tasmania was Johnny Franklin's expedition to the Arctic. He fucked off on 2 ships with 129 blokes to find a shortcut between the Indian and the Pacific across the top of Canada, because the Suez Canal wasn't there. It was meant to be a 5-year voyage, but after 2 years with no contact, Jane got a little bit worried. She's gone to the English government. I haven't had a sex message in fucking ages. I mean, they were well stocked on the ship. They had alcohol, they had clothes, they had 8,000 tins of food. 3 years after they'd fucked off,
No contact.
Janie went, look, I'm going to put 2,000 pounds up to any fucker who can find them, right? And so a couple of people fucked off to look for them. In 1850, someone found the graves of 3 of the crew members. In 1854, there was an explorer called John Ray. His crew went to the southeast of King William Island, where they met a party of fucking, who are them cunts that live in igloos?
Eskimos.
Yeah.
Eskimos.
Oh, I was going to say Pingu. So is
Out
it
of
this-
129, they reckon they met 40 of them that were dragging a boat through the snow, and later they found them at their camp, and there was a couple huddled under the boat, and the rest of them were just fucked. They were all dead. Here's the thing, the mutilated body, condition of the bodies, and the shit that was still in the cooking pots there where they found them all dead, led them to believe that they were fucking eating each other. Like the guy under the boat's missing a leg. Oh look, there's an ankle in the cooking pot. Oh, you remember Jane?
Old Franklin's missus?
Yeah, she said my husband would never be
Do cannibal.
and she said it took him ages to get him to eat meat. Like, how would he eat someone else?
I'm not a
Yeah,
pure
yeah.
supporter of cannibalism.
By the way, that was a really good joke.
It was
You
an
both
amazing
just-
So good.
You both just missed it. I'll fight you. In 1859, another expedition that Lady Jane paid for because she was missing her husband and she wanted to eat a bit of him.
Now he's fake.
Went out. It was dated April 2nd, 1948, and it was written by Johnny's next in charge.
Okay. What a good
Gave
find.
vital information as to their fate. It revealed that both ships had been stranded in the ice for 2 fucking winters. Winter sounds really cold, that's why they say 2 winters.
2 winters.
Yeah. The documents also pointed out that Johnny had died on the 11th of June in 1947.
It's my brother's birthday.
The remaining crew had abandoned ship and tried to get to Back River. They all perished, they never fucking got there.
Fuck them.
In 1945, it's like 100 years later, a number of skulls believed to be those of the missing men were found on King William Island. However, the 2 ships they went, they've never been found.
None of
The
them.
2 ships have never been found to this day. I reckon they got frozen.
Under the ice shelf.
And they're in a glacier, and that's moved them. They're probably in Sweden now. In 1981, an anthropologist called Owen Beatty, who was Warren Beatty's brother, him and his team performed studies on the bodies and artifacts that were found in the Canadian Arctic. 3 bodies whose graves were found on Beachy Island were exhumed. Having been buried in the hard icy ground for 130 years, the bodies were in a remarkable state of preservation. Autopsies found that the men had likely suffered from consumption, and how's this, and had been struck down by lead poisoning.
Lead poisoning!
Cop this.
From?
From what? What do you reckon?
Lead poisoning? What would they have had that was lead? Bullets? No.
From the solder on the seal of the 8,000 tins of food
No!
they had on the boat. They were going to die whether they made it or not. Yeah. They were fucked up.
The food was booby-trapped with lead.
Yeah. There you go.
So it concludes the tale of the Franklin expedition. And so that ends Van Drunken Land. We've heard about the first colonisation from the Europeans. A lot of sea captains who looked at the island from the eastern shore from their boats. We have heard about an expedition to the North Arctic, which ended in a very sad tragedy. And we have heard about lots of little animals. What the fuck am I saying about the fucking and we have covered the end of a species. Cheers.